Are you easily distracted when you sit down to research your ancestors? Do you waste time trying to find a record for your ancestor that you know you've filed somewhere in your laptop? Well, in this video, I am sharing with you 3 essential things that you need to keep your genealogy research on track, be an efficient researcher, and save time. Hey there, if we haven't met before, I am Lisa with Are You My Cousin? And this YouTube channel is designed to help you find your ancestors, grow your family tree, but not be overwhelmed in the process. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, you're in the right place. I don't know about you, but I find that oftentimes when it comes to researching genealogy, I have to do it in short bursts of time. I'm busy. You're busy. We have children. We have grandchildren to keep up with. We have jobs. We have a lot going on, right? But what happens is we research in bits of time. And then when we sit back down again, we're having trouble remembering where did we start? Where did we leave off that on our last session? Where do we need to start? Sometimes I find myself backtracking, researching things I've already looked at before, or of course, wasting time looking for that record that I absolutely know that I downloaded, but I can't remember where I filed it. Is that you? I hope not. But it definitely is me. And I know as I've talked to viewers and readers over the years, this is an issue that happens. But the good news, there are things that we can do to keep our research on track. And no, it's not another record and it's not another database. Okay, so let's talk about file naming. And I want to share with you how I create my file naming formulas in order to make sure I consistently name my files, which means I can then find them much easier in my databases. So what I do when I have a record that I need to name. So in this instance, let's pretend I have a census record for my ancestor, Sarah Blanks. She was from Halifax County, Virginia, and she does appear in the 1830 census record for that area, for that county, as the head of a household. So when I want to file that in my, I use Google Drive. So when I want to file that, download and file that record away for future use, I actually will name it just like this. I always include the year. I put a document. I include the name, first name and last name, and a location. So for this record, what it would look like would be the year, which was 1830, the document, the census record, her name, Sarah Blanks, and the location, Halifax County. Now, I could take this and make it Halifax County, Virginia. That might be actually a better way to do that. But there's no right or wrong way to do this. The reason I created this formula was to really think in the future, how would future me, how will I, Lisa, in a year or two, if I need this record, how would I actually search for it in my digital files? And well, I would look for her name. I would probably look for using her year in a document. Now I might do location, but I have a lot in this particular location. But this allows me to be able to search for this record easily in my files. And again, I use my cloud storage, which is Google Drive. So let me actually show you how I would then search for a record in Google Drive and be able to find it easier. So in Google Drive, and again, that's free. Google Drive is free. I do, just full disclosure, I do pay a little bit extra for the first tier to get a little bit of extra storage because I do, with my YouTube videos and things, I have a lot of storage needs. But anyway, the basic Google Drive is free. So on here, you can see I can go into my Google Drive and I go up to my search bar. And what we see here is you can see that little line here on the right where the arrow is pointing, the little 3 lines. When I click that, it opens up a drop down. So I can filter out what I'm looking for in Google Drive. So if I saved if I know that I'm looking for an image or a photo file, I can click on that and I can filter that down. Or there's PDFs, documents, spreadsheets, and so forth and so forth. But I typically like to look, in this case, I did a search for, I could put images there. I knew I was looking for an image file. I'll put in the name of my ancestor that I was looking for. You can see here, and this was really all that I actually needed to do for this particular record. So I hit search, and these are the files that came back. And you can see I have all these census image files that have you can see the beginning of his names in them. So this was very easy. I didn't have to drill down through a large hierarchy of file folders, which sometimes works for me. Sometimes it doesn't if if I didn't put them in the right place. But this way, I was able to very quickly find all of the census records that I needed to for him. It actually looks like I duplicated these at some point. Now, if you have ever spent too much time backtracking, looking for records that you have filed away, but you can't remember where you put them, hit that thumbs up button and let me know. And be sure to keep watching because I've got 2 more things that you need to keep your research on track. Now, the second thing that you really need and that I really use a lot when it comes to keeping my research on track is using a workflow. I like workflows, and I'll link to in the comments below a previous video I did all about using workflows. Workflows, it's really a system, okay? Whatever term you want to use is perfectly fine. But in this case, I'm just calling them workflows. So this is a sample of a workflow that I created for myself when I sit down to research my genealogy at the computer. These are the steps that I go through because by knowing that I'm doing these steps each time I research, I know that I'm doing a thorough research job. I know that I'm getting done what I need to get done. And I don't have to stop and think about, okay, wait a minute, did I actually name it right? Have I already gotten my source citation for it? Have I already put it to the tree, or did I file it in some odd place, only thinking I'd come back to it later? None of that. This way, I know if I follow this procedure each time, I know that where I am in the process, and I'm less likely to make mistakes when it comes to filing things away. I'm less likely to make mistakes when adding an ancestor to a family tree and then moving my research forward. And it keeps me efficient. And again, the more efficient we are as researchers, the more time we have to go hunt ancestors, which is what it's all about, right? So let me just show you a little bit about my particular workflow here. So when the first thing I do is I sit down and I review my plan. Okay, I don't even start until I know what it is I'm looking for in that particular session. Whether I have 15 minutes or whether I have 2 hours, this is where I'm going to start. Then I start researching. So I've reviewed my plan. I go in and look at it, and then I come down here, and as soon as I find the record, I'm going to go ahead and write the source citation down. Now, this is not, don't worry, I don't get into the whole footnote type of but what I want to do is make sure I'm capturing the information about where it came from and all the necessary information so that it can be found again. The record can be sourced and found again for future researchers who might want to look at it, and for myself as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read that document. I'm going to analyze that document. You know, this is the real fun stuff, right? I'm going to read it and I'm going to analyze it. Now, at this point, I'm going to download it. And again, guys, this is when I'm researching on the computer. I have a separate workflow for when I'm actually researching on site, but I wanted to kind of give you a sample. I download the record. I go out, file the record where I need it to be. So I named it and I filed it in the appropriate place. And then I attach it to my family tree. Coming on to second page, number 2. And then I just repeat the process for however long I have to research. So maybe I have another record I can go for, and I go right back up to that start researching and work through those steps again. Once I'm ready, I need to stop researching. At this point, I'm going to finish up my research. I'm going to quickly just review what I have found, and I'm going to update my research plan so that I know what it is I found. Did I answer the question I was looking for? No. Okay. What records did I use, and where do I need to start the next time? That's really key, is updating that research plan and knowing where to start the next time you sit down. So creating a workflow is very helpful. Now, yours may look very similar. Yours may look very different. That's okay. It's what works for you so that that keeps you on track and keeps your research moving forward. All right, so the next thing that I have for you when it comes to keeping your genealogy research on track, you guessed it, guys, it is a genealogy research plan. I know, I talk about this a lot, but it's just so important, guys. And this is really what keeps me efficient. This is what keeps me successful when it comes to finding finding my ancestors, and it will help you be successful as well. And if you remember in that workflow that I just showed you at the very top, the very first thing I do to sit down is review my research plan. And the very last thing I do is update that research plan. It's at the beginning of my sessions and it's at the end of my sessions. So it drives what I'm doing. All right, let's just take a quick look. Again, I actually have a full-length video on creating a research plan, and I will link that down in the description below as well. So feel free to take a look at that, and it goes a little bit more in depth. But I wanted to show you kind of the main pieces here that would be really important for you to include in a research plan. Now, guys, I do mine in a spreadsheet. You could do this on a piece of notebook paper. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just needs to keep you focused on what you're doing. So the biggest thing here is actually this light brown box. I really should make this a little bit bigger. This is the question. This is what I am trying to find for this particular ancestor. And for this particular ancestor, who I'm trying to find is the father of Emma Della Thomas. And then how her alternate spelling would be Harwood. She was born in 1858, Moore County, North Carolina. I'm trying to find one thing, who her father was. Now, I actually, at this point, actually did know who her mother was. I just didn't know who her father was. So I'm trying to find her father. I'm not trying to find the next 3 generations back. I'm only looking to see if I can figure out who that father is. So that's where I start. I review that. I fill in any other information that I might know about her that would be pertinent, such as her spouse and locations, her death date, and where she lived. So those are important. Again, I'm going to sit down at the beginning of a research project and I'm thinking, okay, what records do I need to look at? In this case, the census records. For Moore County, I needed to look for the family Bible. I needed to look for oral history, marriage records. Because she was born out of wedlock, I needed to look for the bastardy bonds, court records, church records. So these were some things that were all, I knew, searchable records that I could search for evidence of her. Now, once I decide what records I want to look at the beginning, I actually go in and put in where. Where am I going to look for them? Are they online? Great. If they are, go ahead and put a link there. It's one click, you're out, you're ready to go. But other things like the family Bible, oral history. Well, guess what, guys? I actually have cousins that I can reach out to. And so I put that down and then I make a plan. I make a plan to actually get up with them. And so, and then I have some that I need to make sure I go into the North Carolina archives to see for some of these records. So you can see these are the types of things I know exactly when I sit down to have a research session. I know where I can start and I know what can be done either online or what I need to do when I leave. I'll leave any notes to myself, whether a record actually, a search resulted in answering the question, because if it did, I can highlight it yellow and say, yay, I'm done. Okay. And move on to the next research plan that I have. But the other thing is, if it doesn't, I'm going to go ahead and put notes to myself. What's the next thing I should do? What is the next thing? So for the church, because I know where the family attended church, well, the next thing I need to do is visit that church. And so I can make plans to do that as well. So again, this doesn't have to be complicated for you. It could be very simple as a steps of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 written out on a piece of paper, or it can be whatever form you would like it to be. One thing that I would recommend to keep you on track. Do you see how right here I have this bright orange box that says start here at the court records? So this is to reflect that I had to stop my research, and this is the step I'm starting at next time I sit down. I don't have to spend time going, what did I look at? Where did I stop at? I know immediately because it's highlighted in orange, and I've told myself this is where you need to start. Another thing just to think about, this is another way to think. If you're using family tree software like a Family Tree Maker or Roots Magic, one of those types of family tree softwares, a lot of them have built in, they actually have areas where you can plan or list out tasks and indicate whether they have a high priority or a low priority. So I would encourage you to look at your software, your family tree software, and see what's there, because that might be a place that you prefer to write down, and you can keep up with what you've checked, what you haven't checked, as well as prioritizing those tasks there. So that's just another way to look at it. I hope you found that helpful. These 3 essential ingredients, consistent file naming, workflows, and using a plan, will keep your research on track and go a long ways to helping you be an efficient genealogy researcher. And guys, when we are efficiently researching those ancestors, that means we have more time in the long run to do the research. And well, of course, we always want more time when it comes to looking for those ancestors. So if you'd like to learn more about how to find your ancestors and grow that family tree, be sure and watch the video on your screen now.